Whenever you're ready, if you could tell me your name, your full name, title, and then we could start the interview.
Okay. Gabriela Cowperthwaite, director of Our Friend.
First and foremost, saw the movie, loved it. It's very good. I kind of went into it blind. I knew that it was based on a true story, but I didn't want to ruin it, so I didn't watch a trailer. All I did was read the synopsis, and I loved it. And like I said, it's a true story. It's an incredible true story. How did you become involved in bringing it to life, and what was it that initially drew you to this project?
So I read the original article by Matt Teague, which won the National Magazine Award. I read it, that's when it came out, I think like 2015 or something. Read it, was so moved by it, so moved by this idea that, you grieve and your grief and the bottom drops out of the bottom of your life. And then you have this friend, this sort of like the movie kind of shifts, the script shifts, and you are thinking about the port in the storm. You're thinking about someone who's anchoring you. And so it was such a unique way to look at sadness, and this dark thing that we're all going to be going through if we haven't already. And so I guess it was just like a beautiful, heart-wrenching article. I posted it on social media at the time, which I never do. And then when the script came to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I read the log line. I was like, oh my gosh, I know this. I've read it. I've actually legit read this during the time when it came out, not just because it's a movie. And so when I pitched me being able to be the one to direct it to Matt Teague, I took a screen grab of the social media of the post. So I could just be like, legit, no, I'm not a director blowing hot air, acting like I loved it before. I really did love this. And so it moved me, and I hope I can do a good job telling it.
So you answered my next question. I wanted to know, prior to filming, did you ever get the chance to speak to Matt or the real Dane?
I spoke to both of them. I hung out with them in Fairhope, Alabama. We had beers. We went and, walked on the pier, and I saw Matt's house and met the girls. Like, yeah, was just kind of like, did my, part of my trying to get a portal of entry into their world. I knew I had to meet them and just hang out with them.
That is awesome. I can only imagine, like, after reading it, you kind of bring it alive into your own world. That sounds so incredible. And Ridley Scott is the producer on this. How did he become involved in the project?
So he is the head of Scott Free Productions, and so Scott Free is the production company that brought me the script, made the film. Ridley watched it, he digs it, and so slap that name on there, get it front and center.
Now, the three leads are incredible. Not only do they have great chemistry, but they do a particularly good job at making the story feel so grounded in reality, which is good. Like I said, it's a true story, and we should feel like we're watching real people and a real story unfold before our very eyes. What was it like working with Casey, Jason, and Dakota?
I think they all have that thing in terms of, yes, it's got to feel real. I come from documentary originally, so sort of like, for me, I know what real looks like. That's what all documentarians say. It's one thing we have that's very specific to our skill set, and that is that we know what real looks like. So I happen to have three actors who are exactly like that as well. Like, they all just sort of have a natural realism to them. They understood that I like to kind of keep things agile on set and sort of like go off script a little bit, or, what would you do? How would you say it? If you don't think this is how you would say it, how would you say it? And so that looseness, I think, both in comedy and in drama, is something that the three of them share. And so for me, it was just sort of this perfect ensemble to be able to tell like a real sort of authentic story in the right way. And they all, I think Jason and Dakota kind of come from more, they have their comedy to tap into, and then they have their heavy drama to tap into. Casey, same thing. He has, like, you remember the Oceans series, like he has, his complete, like, just taps into comedy like nobody else, but then has obviously Manchester and things like that, where you're like, oh, he's got a reservoir of emotion that he can kind of make available. And they both just feel so accessible and so real, and like people that you either see yourselves in or that you just want to hang out with and be friends with. And I thought that like that is what I wanted. I wanted this story to feel like accessible and feel like these people are my people.
I appreciated the fact that, and I'm pretty sure this happened in real life, that the friendship, like 1 second they could go on and talk about how much they hated each other and call each other names and hurt each other, but the next second they're back in each other's arms, and it's all three of them constantly. There's a back and forth, even towards the end with Dakota Johnson's character as she's losing her life. That she's mad at everybody, but they're just so forgiving in a way that feels so real, and I really admired that. Also, I wanted to talk about how the way in which the story is told. It's you have these dates that appear constantly throughout the film that actually made it feel like I was watching a documentary. They kind of help establish the point in time that you're watching, just so that you don't kind of lose exactly what's happening in the story. Was that written in the script, or was that a choice by you?
Yeah, that was the script was like that. So it came with kind of like not a chronological kind of, trajectory. So and I personally I loved that. I thought it was sort of necessary because like if you don't do it that way and you're going to do the chronological way, you are going to be marching towards this darkness the whole time. You're going to lose her. You're going to know that in the first scene. And I think so many films do that and do it so brilliantly. What I felt like for this one is that it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like when you think about your life, it's like one day doesn't just foretell the other. One day doesn't just lead to the other. When you're inside a day, you're present. You're experiencing that day, or you're thinking of a memory, or laughing about something with somebody that happened yesterday or 10 years ago. So you sort of like, life isn't just plodding forward. And so in a way, these last days that Nicole and Dane and Matt have together, I wanted to feel like, yeah, you're revisiting not only your best times when you first met in college or whatnot, but you're revisiting your shit time. You're not best time. You're not great times, and your hardest times. And so that to me, that's like that feels more like life, and that made the film feel more alive to me. Anything can happen at any point in time. And so yeah, it was a conscious choice by Brad, and I love it. I love that choice.
It was a little hard to follow at first, but once you kind of understand what's going on, it's very, it actually does make the narrative flow smoother. Now, without giving too much away, there's this very deep sequence in with Jason Segel's character in the desert, and it's one of those moments that shows you that you never really know what someone is going through, and it explains the reasoning behind his selflessness. But did that scene really
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah. So it happened. Dane is, the real Dane is a big hiker and a big kind of outdoorsman. But yeah, he had dips. I think everybody has them, dips into darkness. Matt had them as well. And I think like, yeah, it was like that to me, reading that scene and then having, yes, no spoilers, but really just having that phone call, to me was, I guess, was for sure the moment that I said, I have to make this movie. But it was also this moment for me that was like, oh my gosh, when you just pick up the phone and call a friend, you have no idea like what they could be going through. You have no idea. You could be just really that lifeline at that very moment. And just how much that scene meant to me and how I've taken that and incorporated it into how I live my life. Like, and how, and the people I call and the choices that I make, like I want to do life better like that, and it was, something that Matt and Dane, and I think a lot of us who understand what it's like to dip, and to feel blue and to feel inexplicably blue sometimes, it's something that we can all relate to, and was an important, such an important scene in that movie to understand kind of what drives Dane, to make him who he is, and how he can relate to grief and things. So yeah, I That one was an important one
Yeah,
for
that was
me.
that's honestly my favorite scene of the entire film because it like we don't really get too much of Dane by himself. And that is, I think, the only scene in the film where he's truly by himself. And like you said, we really do get to crack him open and see what he's all about. My final question: this film is about the meaning of a true friend, which I think a lot of us get so caught up and say, hey, that person's my friend, that's my best friend. We forget the definition of what it means to be a true friend. What are you hoping that people really take away from this film?
Oh, such a good question. Um, I want you to like, we're not like, I think, Matt's article alludes to this a lot, but like, you're not, you actively choose your friend, in a way that you don't your family, in a way that you don't your neighbors, or like, people you sort of like default to or whatnot. They may become amazing connections that you have in life, but like you actively choose a friend. And so like that active verb, like friendship is an active verb. It is like it is how you show up and how you call people out and how you make them smile and like how present you are, when you're in a conversation with them. Like all those things add up to just bonding this connection that you have with another human on this planet that you weren't born with, and it's just so cool to maybe, I guess, in my hope of hopes, people come out of this film, you hold your loved ones dear and hold them that night, before you go to bed, and then the next day call a friend you haven't called in a while and you haven't spoken to in a while, and they'll be like, well, what's up, is there anything, and you go, no, just calling to calling to see how you're doing.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Gabriella. Our friend, once again, an incredible film. I will be telling all of my friends to go check it out. I really do mean that, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks
No
for the opportunity.
problem.